Wow, it really feels like the ground is shifting under our feet in software development, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, just think back a couple of years. Intelligent code completion felt revolutionary.
Exactly. And now here we are talking about something called vibe coding. It sounds like a whole new paradigm,
Hmm.
largely driven by these powerful AI models, LLMs.
Yeah, and Andrej Karpathy really put a name to it, what, early 2025? Just last year. That timing itself tells you how fast things are moving.
Right. It's exponential. So, okay, let's break it down for everyone listening. What is vibe coding, essentially?
At its heart, it's about expressing what you want software to do using, plain English, natural language.
And the AI, it just generates the actual code.
Pretty much. You describe the vibe, the intention, and the AI translates that into something that runs.
So the programmer's job changes quite a bit then.
Fundamentally, you move away from writing every single line yourself. It becomes more about guiding the AI, testing what it produces, refining it, kind of like an editor or director.
Karpathy had that great quote, something like, giving into the vibes, embracing exponentials, and forgetting that the code even exists. That's a world away from traditional coding.
It really is. And this whole conversation is based on some great sources, articles, tech blogs, insights from developer communities, people like Karpathy and Simon Willison.
Right, lots of different perspectives. So our mission here is to, distill all that, pull out the key stuff, and give you a clear, quick understanding of what vibe coding is all about and why it matters right now.
Okay, so diving deeper into that definition, vibe coding is really dependent on AI, specifically LLMs trained for code generation. You use natural language descriptions.
And the AI turns them into operational code. We talked about the programmer shifting from writing code to guiding it.
Exactly. It's less about manual creation, more about steering, testing, and tweaking the AI's output.
That Karpathy quote again, forgetting that the code even exists. It really captures that hands-off feeling compared to meticulously crafting every function.
But that brings up a really interesting point from Simon Willison. He asks, if you're reviewing every single line the AI generates, really understanding it deeply.
Is that really vibe coding?
Right. He suggests maybe that's more like using AI as a very sophisticated typing assistant, not truly embracing the vibe.
Okay, so the key difference hinges on how much you trust the AI, how much you let go of understanding every little detail.
That seems to be the crux of it. It's that intentional letting go, trusting the vibe, accepting the generated code with, let's say, less intensive scrutiny.
And that has huge implications. It could mean people without deep engineering skills, maybe even amateurs, could actually build software.
That's the democratizing aspect, yeah. It potentially lowers the barrier to entry significantly,
Yeah.
letting more people create.
But hang on, what we're actually seeing in practice, it sounds a bit more nuanced. Many developers are still emphasizing reviewing, testing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a tension there. You have the appeal of just trusting the vibe, but also decades of software engineering best practice screaming about correctness, security, maintainability.
Which brings us squarely to the risks, right? If you just blindly accept what the AI spits out.
You could be in for trouble. Hidden bugs, security holes the AI didn't think of, maybe really inefficient code that works okay at first but falls over later. It's a real danger.
So, okay, people are probably wondering, how do you actually do this? What's the step-by-step if you wanted to try vibe coding?
Well, the first step is generally picking your tool, your AI coding assistant platform.
Like Replit, Cursor, GitHub Copilot,
Yeah,
those kinds of things.
exactly. The choice depends on what you're building, how complex it is, performance needs, maybe budget too.
Got your platform. What's next?
Then comes maybe the most crucial part. Defining what you want with really clear prompts. Natural language, yes, but it needs to be precise.
Uh-huh. Not just make me a cool website.
Definitely not. You need clarity, context, make it goal-oriented. Think of it like giving instructions, something like create a lively, interactive visual that reacts to music. You need detail.
Okay, good prompt. The AI then does its thing, generates some initial code.
Right? It gives you a starting point, a foundation. It's often not perfect first time.
So then you refine it.
Exactly. It's iterative. You look at the output, you tweak your prompt, maybe say, make the colors brighter or add error handling for this case. It's a bit code first, refine later.
A back and forth conversation with the AI. What about making sure it actually works? Testing.
Testing is still vital. And interestingly, the AI can often help here too. You can feed it error messages.
Ask it to fix the bug.
Yeah, it can diagnose and suggest fixes, but,
Yeah.
and this is important, you still need to validate it. Does the fix actually work? Does it break something else? Human validation is key.
Right, the AI isn't infallible. Okay, so after iteration and testing, what's the final step?
Well, usually some kind of final code review, though the depth varies wildly depending on who's doing it and how critical the app is. Then deployment.
Even if you're vibing, a quick sanity check before unleashing it seems wise.
Highly advisable, yes. Effective prompting is one skill, but human oversight is the safety net. Even basic checks, basic testing, are crucial to avoid nasty surprises, like security flaws or performance issues later on. You don't necessarily need deep code knowledge for that part.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk more about those tools. You mentioned a few, but it sounds like there's a whole ecosystem popping up.
Oh, it's growing fast. Lots of platforms and tools trying to nail this vibe coding experience.
Let's start with Replit. I hear that name a lot.
Replit's a big one. It's a cloud-based IDE, so you code in your browser, basically. And it has AI deeply baked in. They call it agent and assistant.
And their angle is making it easy, especially for non-coders.
That seems to be the focus, yeah. Simplifying app development. You can interact using plain language. You can generate whole apps, connect to cloud services, deploy with one click. It tries to make it very smooth.
So you could potentially just describe an app idea.
And Replit tries to build it. They offer different ways to use it too, totally hands-off AI, or you can get more involved, tweak the code, learn as you go, plus security stuff like version control. They even have a VibeCoding 101 course.
How do they put it?
Replit says VibeCoding at its core is the ability to write code and build apps almost entirely with AI. Replit is a platform that allows you to vibe code while providing useful services that make app development easier. Pretty clear mission.
Okay, very accessible.
Yeah.
What about Cursor? That sounds different.
Cursor takes a slightly different tack. It's an AI-first code editor, but it's built on top of VS Code.
Which loads of developers already use.
Exactly. So the goal is enhancing productivity within a familiar environment. Deep AI integration. Things like context-aware autocomplete, fixing bugs, or refactoring code just by highlighting it and typing instructions.
In line, using natural language.
Yep. And explaining code, rewriting it, extending it based on where your cursor is. Plus, it has an agent mode for bigger, more autonomous tasks, and even integrates with voice tools like WhisperFlow.
Voice to code. But that's wild. So Cursor's pitch is...
They say Cursor is built on VS Code, but reimagines the editing experience with AI at the center. It's about augmenting the existing pro developer workflow.
Got it. And then there's the big one, GitHub Copilot. The pioneer, really.
Absolutely. Copilot started with code completion and chat help right in the IDE, but it's evolved a lot.
How so?
Now it has its own agent mode, too, for handling tasks across multiple files. And it uses something called the Model Context Protocol, MCP, which lets it use external tools. So it's getting smarter, more capable.
And it uses powerful AI models underneath.
Yeah, things like Claude 3.7 Sonnet, Google's Gemini 2.0 Flash, OpenAI's GPT-4o, some heavy hitters. GitHub says Copilot transforms the developer experience with contextualized assistance throughout the software development lifecycle.
Okay, powerful tools for developers.
Yeah.
What about Lovable? That one sounds maybe different again.
Lovable is interesting. Their focus is very much on building quality software without needing traditional coding skills. Accessibility is key.
So even more abstract than Replit, maybe.
Perhaps. They emphasize natural language to functional apps. They automate database setup, handle real-time updates automatically, use AI for error handling behind the scenes, really trying to hide the code complexity.
And their philosophy. They seem to have a strong take.
They do. Lovable states. Vibe coding is coding where you fully trust AI and don't even read the code and just follow the vibes. That's a pretty pure definition of the extreme end of vibe coding.
Wow, okay. So a real spectrum of tools. You mentioned some others quickly.
Yeah, new ones are popping up. Windsurf, Bolt.new, Cody2. It just shows the ecosystem is maturing, catering to everyone from non-technical folks to pros who want AI deeply integrated. It's definitely not one size fits all.
And that trend of integration, like with Cursor and Copilot, seems key. Embedding AI into familiar tools.
Makes it much less disruptive. Developers don't have to constantly switch context. It just becomes part of the flow, boosting productivity with smart suggestions and automation right where you work.
Okay, great overview of the tools. But let's make it concrete. Are people actually using this stuff to build real things? What are some examples?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see some really cool applications.
Give us some examples.
Okay, remember Lovable? They did a live stream with Supabase, another tech company.
Right.
And in just over an hour, they built a whole event management app, live, just using natural language commands.
An hour. Seriously?
Seriously. The AI handled the database setup, real-time updates, even error handling. They explicitly said, no manually writing lines of code, just using natural language commands to guide AI.
Hmm.
That really shows the speed.
That's pretty mind-blowing. What else?
There's an example of a personalized app called Lunchbox Buddy. Someone supposedly vibe coded it to check what's in their fridge and suggest lunch ideas.
Ah, okay, so it's not just big business apps. It's for personal niche stuff too.
Exactly. Which hints at the potential for creating custom software for very specific needs. And then, of course, startups are jumping on this for rapid prototyping.
Makes sense. Get an idea, vibe code an early version, test it fast.
Precisely. Accelerate development, launch quicker. Established businesses are doing similar things, faster prototypes, building MVPs, minimum viable products, with way less time and resources.
So, faster time to market, validating ideas quicker. What about within existing development?
Huge potential for automating repetitive stuff. Generating boilerplate code, writing documentation, even refactoring existing code to make it better. It frees up developers.
Right, letting them focus on the hard parts. And you mentioned empowering non-technical folks.
Yeah, people in marketing or finance or wherever building their own internal tools tailored exactly to what they need without needing a dedicated dev team.
That could change internal workflows quite a bit. Any other use cases?
Even experienced programmers are using it to learn new things faster, like, hey, AI, show me how to do this in Rust, if they mainly know Python. The AI generates examples they can learn from.
Okay, that's a neat learning application.
And there are innovative products emerging, like Brainy Docs from Menlo Park Lab. It apparently uses AI-generated code to turn static PDFs into explainer videos, so applications and content creation too.
Wow. So it really spans from tiny personal tools to complex business apps to creative content generation?
Exactly. It shows the breadth. Simple apps, complex tasks. The big takeaway is the potential to massively speed up the whole software development lifecycle, which is a huge competitive edge these days.
Okay, the speed and accessibility are clearly huge upsides. Let's really drill down into those benefits. What are the core advantages of riding this vibe?
Well, the big headline is definitely speed and cost savings. We touched on this, but AI generating code in seconds or minutes instead of hours or days.
Slashes development timelines.
Yep.
Weeks become days, potentially.
Right. And less developer time means lower labor costs. That's a massive driver, especially for businesses.
Huge. And the accessibility factor.
Also huge. It genuinely lowers the barrier to entry. Entrepreneurs, designers, subject matter experts who aren't coders, they can now participate directly in creating software. More people can build things.
That's that democratization we talked about. Powerful stuff. What about for existing developers? Is it just about speed for them?
Speed, yes, but also enhanced productivity. Automating the grunt work, the boilerplate, the repetitive tasks,
Frees them up for.
more complex problem solving, creative thinking, focusing on the overall architecture, the user experience, the strategic parts of building software.
So a shift from low-level implementation to higher-level thinking.
Exactly. Which ties into rapid prototyping and innovation. If you can spin up a prototype super fast, you can experiment more, test ideas quicker, innovate faster. Especially good for startups.
Fosters a more experimental culture, maybe?
Could do, yeah. It allows developers and product people to focus more on the what and the why of the software, rather than getting bogged down in the how quite so early.
And you mentioned software for one.
Right, the ability for an individual to create personalized tools, automations just for themselves without needing a whole team, like that Lunchbox Buddy example.
So summing up the upsides. It's faster, cheaper, more accessible, boosts developer productivity by handling grunt work, enables rapid innovation, and lets people focus on the bigger picture.
That's a great summary. It's a potent mix. Efficiency gains plus broader participation. For skilled devs, it's about leveraging AI to focus on architecture, UX, the really challenging creative stuff. It could unlock a lot of potential.
Okay, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
there's always a but, isn't there? With any big shift like this, there must be downsides, challenges, risks. What's the turbulence look like here?
Oh, absolutely. It's not all smooth sailing. A major concern is code quality.
Many.
AI-generated code might work initially, but it might not be robust, efficient, or easy to understand. It might not follow best practices, and that can make it a nightmare to maintain or scale later on.
So you get something fast, but it might be fragile or hard to build upon. Technical debt baked in from the start.
Exactly, someone described it well. AI-generated code often works at first, but can have hidden problems. It might be inefficient, hard to understand, or tricky to update later on. That sums it up.
And then there's security. That feels like a big one.
Huge. There's a real risk the AI could introduce security vulnerabilities without realizing it, or just miss crucial security steps that a human developer would know to include.
Like forgetting to sanitize inputs or handle errors properly.
Precisely. As another source put it, AI tools sometimes miss important safety steps, like checking user inputs or handling errors properly. If the person vibing doesn't catch that, well, you've got a
A
problem.
potentially serious one. And maintainability, you mentioned that. Technical debt again.
Yeah, if the code lacks structure, good documentation, clear architecture, which AI code often can, understanding it, modifying it, extending it down the line becomes incredibly difficult. AI-generated code often lacks the structure, documentation, and clarity necessary for long-term maintenance. This can lead to increased technical debt. That's a direct quote highlighting the issue.
It sounds like debugging could be tricky too if you don't really understand the code the AI wrote.
Definitely. And even using version control effectively can be harder if you're not sure what changes the AI made or why.
Okay, what else? What about the humans involved?
Well, there's the concern about over-reliance leading to skill degradation if you always let the AI do the coding.
Do you ever learn the fundamentals yourself?
Exactly, especially for newcomers. Another challenge is that users may rely too much on the AI and not build strong coding skills themselves. That's a real worry for the long term.
Makes sense. Are there limits to what vibe coding is good for?
Yes. For really specialized, complex, or totally novel problems, the AI might struggle. Human expertise and creativity are still essential for pushing boundaries or handling very specific requirements.
So it's not a silver bullet for everything. What about things like bias?
That's a risk too. AI models learn from vast data sets, and if that data contains biases, the generated code could potentially reflect those biases, leading to unfair or unexpected outcomes.
A UX UI. Can vibe coding lead to bad design?
Potentially, yes. If you're just focused on getting functional code quickly without a clear design system or UX principles, you could end up with a really inconsistent or confusing user experience.
So lots to consider. It sounds like the key is balance.
Absolutely. Rapid generation is great, but you can't throw out fundamental software engineering principles. Testing, code reviews, standards, they still matter. Ignoring them leads to fragile apps. Over-reliance erodes skills. You need human oversight and a strong grasp of the concepts, even if AI does the typing.
This brings us right to the developer's role. If AI is doing more coding, what happens to developers? Are they out of a job, or does the job just change?
It's definitely a transformation, not an obsolescence, I think. The emphasis shifts dramatically.
From writing code line by line
To
to...
orchestrating the AI tools. Becoming really skilled at prompting, communicating your intent clearly and effectively to the AI. That becomes a core competency.
So less typing, more thinking and directing, like moving from bricklayer to architect.
That's a pretty good analogy. We're even seeing talk of the rise of product engineers.
Meaning,
Professionals who can handle the whole life cycle, ideate the product, use AI to implement it, test it potentially as individuals, leveraging AI across the board. As one source put it, we're witnessing the rise of product engineers professionals who ideate, implement, and test solutions as individuals, leveraging AI throughout the process.
wow. So prompt engineering skills become crucial.
Absolutely critical. And the focus shifts upwards towards higher level concerns, understanding the problem deeply, designing the user experience, thinking about the overall application architecture.
Interesting. Might we see new specializations emerge?
Very possibly. With AI handling more initial generation, maybe we'll see more need for scaling engineers. People focus specifically on making sure AI-generated systems are scalable, reliable, secure under load.
Taking the AI's output and making it production ready at scale.
Exactly. Or developers becoming AI wranglers, managing multiple specialized AI assistants to tackle complex problems collaboratively.
But the human element doesn't disappear. Review, testing.
Still essential. Human oversight for quality, security, maintainability remains critical. It's becoming a strategic, collaborative partnership with AI.
So the skills needed are changing. Communication with AI, code validation, high-level design.
Those are becoming much more important. It requires continuous learning and adaptation. New roles are emerging that bridge that gap between product vision and AI implementation.
So not replacement, but evolution. Developers need to adapt and learn to work with the AI.
That's the key takeaway, I think. Embrace it, learn it, figure out how to leverage it effectively.
Okay, this evolution raises some deep questions, especially around ethics. What are the ethical harmonics we need to be listening for with vibe coding?
That's a really important area, and it's complex. There are quite a few layers.
Like what? What are the main concerns?
Well, first off, the quality and security of the code itself. Is it ethically responsible to deploy code generated largely by AI if you can't be sure it's reliable or secure? One of the primary concerns is the quality and security of code produced by AI. That's a core ethical duty.
Ensuring what you build doesn't harm users or expose them to risk. Makes sense. What else?
The impact on human skills, we touched on this. Is it ethical to rely so heavily on AI that we risk losing fundamental programming skills in the long run? Could that stifle future
A
innovation?
sort of collective de-skilling? That's a concerning thought.
It is. Then there's the issue of bias in the AI itself. If the AI models are trained on biased data, they might generate code that perpetuates those biases, leading to unfair or discriminatory outcomes. That's a huge ethical red flag.
Right. Algorithms aren't neutral if the data isn't. What about ownership?
Intellectual property, yeah. Who owns the code generated by an AI? The user who prompted it, the company that built the AI, the creators of the data it trained on. It's a legal and ethical minefield right now.
Tricky. And the over-reliance issue again.
From an ethical standpoint, yes. If we rely too much on AI and lose our deep understanding of how the software works, are we losing control? Are we becoming unable to truly take responsibility for what we create?
Which leads directly to accountability. If a vibe-coded application causes harm or makes a serious mistake, who's responsible?
Exactly. Is it the developer? The AI vendor? It's a very complex question with no easy answers yet.
Any other ethical wrinkles?
There's the potential for misrepresentation, people claiming skills they don't really have because the AI did the work, setting unrealistic expectations, and, of course, the broader societal question of job displacement due to automation in software development.
So it touches on responsibilities, skills, fairness, ownership, control. A lot.
It really does. Which circles back to the importance of thorough review and testing, not just as good practice, but as an ethical obligation.
So the takeaway on ethics is,
It's multifaceted. We need to be proactive, address bias, establish guidelines for responsible AI use, figure out accountability, and manage the narrative, avoid hype, emphasize that fundamental knowledge and ethical thinking are still paramount, even with powerful AI tools.
a lot to grapple with there. Okay, looking forward then. What does the future sound of software look like? What are the trends and predictions for vibe coding?
The trajectory seems pretty clear. Deeper integration and more capability. We can expect LLMs to keep improving.
Getting better at understanding prompts, generating higher quality, more secure, more efficient code.
That's the expectation, which will likely fuel wider adoption and allow for more sophisticated applications built using vibe coding principles.
And the tools themselves, how will they evolve?
And expect even tighter, more seamless integration into IDEs and workflows. AI assistants will become less of a separate thing and more just part of the environment. Ubiquitous.
And that voice-to-code idea, will that take off?
It seems likely. As voice recognition gets better and AI understands spoken intent more accurately, talking to your computer to write code could become much more common.
Interesting. What about other areas like design?
Future tools might put more emphasis on UX. Imagine describing the user experience you want, and the AI helps generate not just the code, but also user-friendly interfaces that align with that vision.
AI is a UX assistant too. How about the collaboration between humans and AI?
That's expected to deepen. AI will likely take on more complex, more autonomous coding tasks, freeing up human developers even further for strategic oversight, complex problem solving, and innovation.
So AI becomes an even more capable partner. What about education?
We might see vibe coding principles integrated right into computer science education, training a new generation of AI native developers who are comfortable working with these tools from day one.
And could AI get better at understanding the why behind the code, the business logic?
That's a potential future direction, yeah. AI gaining a deeper grasp of specific business domains, allowing it to generate more contextually relevant domain-specific software directly from natural language business requirements.
Wow. Any other key trends?
We'll likely see better tools for customizing AI models for specific tasks or company standards. And that focus on ethics we just discussed. That will intensify, leading to more defined best practices and guidelines for using these tools responsibly and safely. As one prediction put it, as AI models continue to evolve, they'll become even better at understanding complex requirements and generating highly optimized code. This means vibe coding could soon become an essential tool in every developer's toolkit.
So the future points towards AI being even more deeply woven into the fabric of software development,
Hmm.
making it faster, potentially more accessible, but also demanding new skills and careful ethical consideration.
Exactly. Continuous AI advancements, enhancing capabilities, deeper integration, and hopefully a parallel development of ethical frameworks and educational adjustments.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up this deep dive. We've journeyed through the world of vibe coding, this really transformative approach, undeniably offering speed and accessibility.
But as we've seen, it comes with significant caveats, limitations, risks around quality and security that absolutely need careful consideration.
And the role of the developer is clearly evolving less about manual coding, more about orchestration, prompting, high-level design, and that critical human oversight. Plus, the ethical implications are profound and need ongoing attention.
It really calls for a balanced, informed approach. We need to embrace the power AI offers for sure, but without abandoning sound engineering principles or our ethical responsibilities.
Absolutely. And maybe the final thought to leave you, our listener, with is this. As software development becomes potentially much easier and more accessible through vibe coding, how will that reshape not just the tech industry, but society? How will it empower individuals and businesses in ways we maybe can't even predict yet?
And critically, what new responsibilities come with that democratized power? Balancing automation with human expertise and oversight, that seems like the core challenge ahead.
Definitely something to keep thinking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.